Hello, everybody. It's November, which means we're going to be going over my October income and expenses. We'll do a little net worth update. I will share the progress that I made towards my 2025 financial goals, one of which is to invest $45,000 this year. And finally, we will do a quick overview of my new budget for November. Sorry, this video is up late again. I should probably just stop calling these reset videos because I am seemingly incapable of getting them up on time for them to be an actual reset. I've also been thinking about splitting these videos up between the monthly recap and then doing my monthly budget in a different video. That's how I used to do it. I think that will be a little bit more manageable for me moving forward. And then hopefully I can get at least my budget video up in a timely manner. But anyway, sorry for being such a bad YouTuber. If you're new here, my name is Alyssa, and I like to post videos about how I manage my finances and where I'm at in my own financial journey. My hope is that putting out videos like this just gets more people looking at their own finances, talking about finances, and hopefully you can just find a little bit of motivation or inspiration for your own financial journey. Before we dive into the numbers, I think there are some things that you should know about me for context. So I am 35 years old and I live in Middle Tennessee with my boyfriend Tyler and our dog Zeke. We currently rent this townhouse apartment together, so we are not homeowners, we don't have a mortgage, and we pretty much split most of our living expenses 50-50. I don't have any debt besides what is on my credit card statement balances at the end of the month, but those are on auto pay, so I never pay any credit card interest. And then as far as my income, I make the bulk of my income from my full-time 9-to-5 marketing contractor work. So that is my full-time job. I get a normal weekly paycheck from that. And then I do have a few side streams of income, such as this YouTube channel that helps supplement my income and help me progress in my financial goals. I think that's all you really need to know for now. So let's hop into my October income and expenses. For income in the month of October, like I said, my biggest source of income is my marketing contractor work. I received 4 weeks of pay totaling $6,200. Next, I cashed out $25 from my health insurance. They have a rewards portal where you can do activities online and get points that can be converted to cash on a Visa prepaid card. So I cashed out $25 onto that card. Cashback, this is all from my cashback credit cards, which I cashed out $29.31. My high yield interest savings account paid out $76.16. Then I actually received 2 class action lawsuit settlement payouts in the month of October. So the first one was the big Facebook settlement that a lot of people were a part of. I received $37.55 from that. And then I also actually received a residual payout from a lawsuit that I was a part of last year, but I received a check in the mail for $17.91 for a total of $55.46 from class action lawsuits this month. Next, I cashed out $20 from the Upside app. That is a cashback app that I use every time I fill up for gas. I also use it when I buy food from certain restaurants and sometimes grocery stores too. If you're not using the app, it's completely free and you get cash back on purchases that you were probably going to make anyway. So I have a link in my description box down below if you want to try it out. And then last but not least, for YouTube income, I received my biggest paycheck to date. I received $2,021.30, which is insane. I did not think that I would reach that level of pay so soon into my monetization journey, but my 10 years of investing video did quite well. I posted it at the end of August. So then it had all of September, all of those views were racking up AdSense money. And then I was paid out for all those views in October. So that's where the bulk majority of that income came from, was from that video. So thank you guys so much for your support on that video. And I know that a lot of you guys subscribed from that video as well. So thank you for checking out my other content and sticking around. I also want to give a special thank you to Kira Raw Official _YT. I probably said said that wrong, I'm sorry. But they gave me a super thanks that totaled $8.83 after YouTube's conversion and fees. So thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And that contributed to that $2,021. So all in all, for income in the month of October, I made $8,427.23. Very strong month for me. I'm super excited about that. Next, we'll go over my expenses. First being my investing. I invested a total of $4,222 in October. So I invest $500 per weekly paycheck from my marketing work. And then this year I'm investing all of my extra income as well. So $2,000 of this was from my marketing pay, and then the other $2,222 was from extra income. And this was all invested into my solo 401k on the employer side. Next, we'll go over my fixed and recurring expenses, the biggest one of which is rent. I paid $1,074 for my portion. This is for rent, the pet fee, the Wi-Fi, the garbage, and a few other amenities. Electric and water was $106.71. Gym was $15. Then health insurance, I paid $62.65. I am on a marketplace plan as a self-employed person. So unfortunately, my premium will be going up probably to at least $600 in the new year. For now, I'm just enjoying the low $62.65 while I can. We'll see what happens. I'll probably fill you guys in when I do an annual budget, and we'll talk about how I am adjusting to that new health insurance cost, but yeah, we'll deal with that when it comes. Then my phone bill was $38. I'm on a family plan with my mom, so a little bit of savings there. Services and fees. This was a $7.95 fee to pay a portion of my rent with that health insurance rewards card. So let me just explain. I need to use the rewards points on that card before the end of the year because I plan on switching health insurance providers. And so this card is kind of a use it or lose it situation. I had been racking up points on that card for the past couple of years. So I had $525 on there. And what I didn't realize is that you can't really use that card anywhere. You can only use it on medical expenses, certain utilities such as rent, and then at Walmart. So basically, instead of using this whole gift card at Walmart and losing out on over $10 of cash back from my 2% card, I took the $7.95 fee to use it towards my rent. And then when I spend the $5.25 on my 2% card, I get a few extra dollars of cash back that I otherwise would have missed out on. Completely unnecessary. I'm only saving like a couple bucks in cash back, but I just personally find enjoyment in saving those little bits of money because they do add up. Then for subscriptions, I paid $19.58. This is mostly my streaming subscription. So I use Hulu, Discovery Plus, and then we also subscribe to Netflix just for the month of October to be able to watch Love is Blind. And then $1 fee for my Acorns brokerage. That brought my total fixed and recurring expenses to $1,323.89. Next, we'll go over my food and drink categories. For dining out, I spent $230.17, which is pretty good considering I budget $225. So only $5 over there. For groceries, I usually budget $300. So I spent $254.78, which sounds good, except I moved that extra money towards my household category this month because we made a big Costco trip and bought a bunch of household supplies, so didn't really actually save that money. Then for supplements, my boyfriend and I went in on a bag of protein, so my portion of that was $34.57, bringing my food and drink total to $519.52. Next, we'll go over my personal and fun categories. First up is clothing. I spent $12.06. This was for one more pack of socks, so hopefully I have enough socks now to last me a while. Decor and fixtures, I spent $286.59, which sounds like a lot, but I do really want to prioritize this category, and I've been setting aside money in this category monthly, especially going into the winter. I just want to prioritize making this place more cozy and getting more of our personality in here, because when my boyfriend and I moved in here earlier this year, we both pretty much came with no furniture and no decor. So it's been kind of a balance this year of wanting to fill the space and be able to use it, but not getting things too fast where they're not really personal. So I think we've done a pretty good job, but I want to focus now on getting more artwork and just things to make the place cozy. Then for household, like I said, we made that big Costco trip, so I ended up spending $96.29 on a bunch of things from Costco. We got dish pods, Q-tips, paper towels, toilet paper, laundry detergent, deodorant, shampoo, just a big stock up on things like that. And then my stuff and things category, this is just a catch-all for random physical objects that don't fit other categories. I spent $30.66. I bought some sunglasses to replace a broken pair, and then I also bought a piece of luggage at a garage sale for $12. I have a couple of carry-on sizes that I use when I travel, but then if I was going on a longer trip, I would have to borrow my mom's checked bag size. So now I have my own big checked bag. So total for personal and fun was $490.60. Next is Zeke the Freak. I spent $31.16 on my portion of his grooming. That was a little bit cheaper this month because we actually had a gift card for a new grooming place, which we are actually going to continue going there, and it might be a little bit more expensive than our old grooming place, but we're happy to pay that because I think Zeke was way less anxious there. He seemed to enjoy it, and everyone there was so nice. So I think it's worth the money to make him a little bit more comfortable. Then I spent $104.98 at the vet. He's okay, but he was sneezing a lot. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't any sort of respiratory illness or anything contagious because we go to a dog park a lot. So luckily it wasn't anything like that. They deemed it to be allergies and got him on some medication. So this was for the vet visit and the medication. So total on Zeke the Freak, I spent $136.14. Car expenses, I spent $45.61 on a tank of gas. Insurance and registration, I spent $87.68 to renew my registration. And this is another area where I saved a few dollars. So instead of renewing my registration online, where they charge online fees and then the fee to mail the decal for you, I just drove 2 minutes down the road and went to the DMV myself, and they have a self-serve kiosk. So I was in and out in less than 2 minutes and renewed my registration there, and I saved like $5 or $6 in fees. So again, completely not necessary, but if I have the option to pay less, I will usually do whatever it takes to do that. So total for car expenses, I spent $133.29. And then lastly, I had an inflow to one of my credit cards. This credit card gives cash back in the form of statement credits. So it's not money that's going into my bank account. It's just lowering my credit card bill. So that was 58 cents, bringing my total expenses to $6,824.86. And this includes that over $4,000 of investing, which means my net income was $1,602.37, most of which was saved towards taxes, but also a few other categories, which we will go over when I share my November budget. Next, we'll take a look at my 2025 financial goals, and the spreadsheet that I'm using, I purchased from Leila here on YouTube. So I'll link the spreadsheet down in my description box if you're interested in buying it for yourself. My first goal is to make $5,000 in extra income. So this is all income outside of my marketing contracting work. So things like my YouTube channel, the interest from my high yield savings accounts, cash back, everything like that. So in the month of October, I made a total of $2,227.23, which means I've reached this goal. I made $6,201.66 so far this year in extra income, which is just amazing. Obviously, that YouTube paycheck helped bring me over that edge, and I'm really excited to see what is in store the rest of the year. Maybe I'll reach $7,000 or $8,000 in extra income. And like I said, all of that extra income is going towards my investing goal, which I will get to in a second. My next goal is to make $90,000 in gross income. So now this is my extra income with my marketing contractor work. In October, I made a total of $8,427.23, bringing my total year to date to $72,951.66, which technically is slightly behind where I should be. However, I am expecting November and especially December to be higher income months for me. So I still have a lot of hope and optimism towards this goal, and I think we can still reach it. However, my next goal is to have $10,000 in my car fund, which obviously you can see in September, I subtracted a lot from this fund. So this fund is for things like car maintenance, car repairs, my car insurance deductible, and then possibly buying a new car in the future. I was hoping to reach at least 10,000 this year, which I don't think is going to happen because I did have a big repair bill in September that brought that fund down by $1,500. So in October, I added $200 to this fund, and then I plan to add $200 in November and December, which would bring this fund up to $8,000 at the end of the year. I'm fine with slow and steady progress for now, and then focusing the rest of my extra income this year towards my investing goal. And speaking of which, my next goal is to invest $45,000 this year. So in October, I invested $4,222, bringing my year-to-date invested to $36,535, which again is slightly behind where I should be to reach this goal. However, I'm very confident in my income for the rest of the year that I should be able to reach this. I don't want to jinx myself, but I'm very confident. So we'll see how the rest of the year goes, but I'm happy with the progress on that. Next, I'd like to have $200,000 invested. This is the total of all my retirement accounts, my taxable brokerage, everything besides crypto. In October, my investment accounts, after my deposits and growth in the market, those went up by $9,427.72, which means I technically reached this goal at the end of October. I had $201,380.21 invested. And I say had in the past tense because where we are in November right now, the market is down a little bit. So I am no longer at $200,000 invested, but I did technically reach this goal. So that's really exciting because this was more of a stretch goal, kind of wishful thinking and hoping that the market was really nice to us this year, which it was. I guess we'll just see how the rest of the year goes. And then my last goal this year is to hit CoastFi at the age of 67. So I am tracking the ability to be able to withdraw $60,000 a year at the age of 67 based on what I currently have invested. So if you're not familiar with CoastFi, it's the idea that your investments today are at an amount that without any further contributions would continue to grow until traditional retirement age and be able to support your retirement. So for me, I'd like to be able to withdraw $60,000 a year in today's dollars, and then I'm tracking 10% growth rate and a 3% inflation rate. It's not like an exact science, but just kind of a fun number to check in on where I'm at. I did already hit this CoastFi goal back in July, so now I'm just tracking basically how much of a salary increase I'm giving myself at the age of 67. So at the end of October, with my investments at that $201,000, I would be able to withdraw $67,640.31 a year at the age of 67. And I'll have a CoastFi calculator that I use in my description box down below if you want to calculate your own CoastFi numbers. Next, we'll check in on my net worth, and I have September and October on the screen just so you can see the change from the previous month. And at the end, I will go over my full year of net worth progress. So for cash, this is everything in my checking accounts, savings accounts, and literal cash in my wallet. That all came to $26,632.43. My solo 401k went up to $95,651.71, which obviously is a huge jump because I finally rolled over my SEP IRA into my solo 401k to just simplify things, get everything in one account. And that was $35,980.65 that was rolled over. And then I also contributed the $4,222. So far year to date, I have maxed out the employee side of my solo 401k at $23,500. And then I have also contributed $6,035 to the employer side of the solo 401k. And then obviously my SEP IRA is at zero because I transferred everything out and closed it. My Roth IRA, I already maxed out at the beginning of the year. So that grew to $63,046.73. And then my HSA grew to $11,760.44. I have not been contributing to this year because I didn't have a qualifying health plan, but the plan that I'm planning on getting on for next year will allow me to contribute to this. But for now, this is just growing, which is nice. And then my taxable brokerage grew to $30,921.33. And this used to be a combination of my Acorns account and then my public account, which had a few single stocks. I did end up withdrawing that and closing that account, and then I transferred that money over to my Acorns account, again, just to simplify things. And so now I just have a single taxable brokerage. And lastly, my crypto was the only thing that went down, at least in the month of October. That went down to $24,232.23. And this is mostly Bitcoin. I have one Ethereum coin and then a couple of meme coins. So my total assets ended at $252,244.87. Next, we will subtract my liabilities, the first of which is what was left on my credit card statement balances. And again, those are set up on auto pay. I don't pay them to zero every month so that I can keep money in my own high yield interest savings accounts longer and gain interest on that payment amount versus just giving it to the credit card companies right away. So in October, my balances were at $4,477.59. And then for tax savings, since I am fully self-employed, I have to save and pay for quarterly taxes. And I like to subtract that from my net worth just because every time I get paid, I do technically owe the government that money. So I just like to take it out of my net worth. My tax savings ended at $1,731, bringing my total liabilities to $6,208.59, bringing my net worth to $246,036.28, which was a $7,642 increase, or about a 3.2% increase from September. Now I'll show you the overview of my whole year. So let's see how much my net worth has grown since January 1st. So just this year, my net worth has grown almost $59,000. And remember, I've invested $36,000 this year, which means I have seen over $20,000 in market growth, which is really amazing to see. All right, now we'll go over my November budget. And for this, I use a software called YNAB. It stands for You Need a Budget. And I'll have a link in my description box below if you like it and you want to try it. But basically, it's like digital cash envelopes. So all of the money in this budget is the money that I have in my bank accounts. So that $26,000 that I had in cash that I shared in my net worth, this is how I organize all of those dollars and give everything a job. These first three categories are where I split up all of my marketing income. So every week when I receive my marketing contractor pay, that equals $1,550. And then I split that up between these three categories. So I will put $775 towards my month ahead fund, which will get this fund up to $3,100 by the end of the month. And that is the money that I use to be a month ahead in my expenses and my savings goals in YNAB. Then I will take $500 from that paycheck and put it towards investing. So by the end of the month, I will have contributed $2,000 or $2,500 if I had 5 weeks of pay. And I also am investing all of my extra income. So by the time I'm recording this video, I've been paid twice. So I've put $1,000 into this category plus $109.54 of extra income that I have earned this month. And lastly, I do have to save for taxes. So from my marketing pay, I take out $275 per week. And then that money sits in this category until I have to pay my quarterly taxes. And that $275 is also already accounting for the fact that I was going to make extra income this year. So that's why I invest all of my extra income, because a lot of that is going towards pre-tax accounts, which saves me money on taxes. So then the amount that I'm saving from my marketing pay has already been calculated with a buffer for extra taxes that I may owe still. So you can see that in my first 2 paychecks, I've contributed $550, and this will be $1,100 by the end of this month. So that's what I do every time I receive income. And then at the beginning of the month, I will have that $3,100 from my previous month's income set aside to fund my living expenses and savings goals for the next month. So here are my fixed expenses. I already paid rent this month. Then I set aside $110 for utilities. So I currently have $119.36 in this fund. And basically all these categories you can kind of think of as sinking funds. Some of them I spend down to zero every month, like rent. That's a very exact number that I pay every month. Or like my gym and health insurance. Those are fixed costs, so they do get spent down to zero. But then for the majority of the rest of my categories, they're more like sinking funds that I may or may not spend from throughout the month. So I just really like YNAB for that purpose, where I'm basically treating all of those expenses like monthly subscriptions. So my gym this month, it's normally $15, but I did have to set aside money for the annual fee that comes out in November. So that's going to be $54 this month, and then it'll go back down to $15 next month. Health insurance, like I said, $62, $65 just for the next 2 months. So I will enjoy that while it lasts. $30, I already sent my mom that payment. And then I set aside $10 for services and fees. And this will be for things like my credit card annual fees, my Costco renewal, and just other random services that I may use throughout the year. And then subscriptions, I normally set aside $50, but I took some out. I used some of that to pay for my annual fee for my gym. And then food and drink, I gave myself $225. I've spent $87 so far, so I have $138 left to spend this month. Groceries, I've spent about half of that $300 so far, so I have $137.13 left. And then supplements, I set aside $25. I probably won't spend it this month. Maybe for Black Friday, I might buy some creatine powder that's on sale. But for now, I have $65 sitting in this fund for when I want to use it. And then personal and fun, I set aside $10 a month for clothing, which I am currently building up. I don't really buy that much clothing, so hoping that this can just kind of build up a little bit for when I do eventually want to purchase something. Decor and fixtures, I put $60 this month, so that's up to $160 in this fund. And then gifts and good vibes, I set aside $100 a month, so this fund is currently at $543.76, which should be fine. I have one more birthday to buy for this month, and then in December, I'll set aside another $100. So I'll have around $600 for Christmas, which should be fine. My family's not really doing gifts this year, and so that would mainly be for my boyfriend's family and doing whatever Christmas festivities we want to do this year. Plus I have my entertainment fund too for any Christmas doings. So I feel okay about that. And then I'm not planning on doing any crazy Black Friday shopping. Like I said, maybe just stocking up on my creatine powder, household, $45, which hopefully I won't need to use too much of that this month since we did have that big Costco trip last month. Medical, I set aside $25 a month, and this is for things like doctor visits, physical therapy, or if I need medical supplies. And the reason that I have a separate medical sinking fund when I already have an HSA is because I just prefer to keep my HSA 100% invested. I'd rather that money grow because it's a really cool account. It is triple tax advantaged, which means I save on taxes for the money that I put in. The growth is completely tax-free, and then I can withdraw the money from that account tax-free for medical purposes at any point in the future. So I'm planning on just keeping that money for retirement or for when my medical expenses are most likely going to be way higher in the future. And then I can just afford to pay my medical expenses now out of pocket while I am young and seemingly healthy and my expenses aren't that high. Personal care, I set aside $45 a month. I'm not planning on getting anything this month, so that will continue building up. Seeing and doing, this is my entertainment category, setting aside $70 a month. That is currently at $400. Stuff and things, currently setting aside $35 a month, currently sitting at $35. Therapy, I have been setting aside $165 a month, but I'm now going as needed. I'm not actually scheduling appointments ahead of time. And I actually used that $165 in October towards my decor and fixtures purchases. Probably just going to continue doing that. I'll fund therapy, but then if I don't end up going, I'll either let it sit there and then not fund it in future months, or I'll take that money and use it towards other purchases that I want to make that month. And then my travel category, I set aside $100 a month for this. This is a little confusing. It says $750 because I moved $650 from a different travel category that I ended up deleting just to kind of simplify my budget a little bit. So this fund is currently at $750 after contributing $100 this month. And then Zeke the Freak, I set aside $12.50 for food and supplies for him. I don't think we're gonna need anything this month, so that's building up, and I currently have $34. Grooming, I set aside $62.50, which is normally around what I pay for half of his grooming. So there's a little bit of a buffer in here just because we saved with the gift card last month on his grooming. And that buffer will be nice because I'm not quite sure how much his grooming is going to cost at this new place moving forward. Training, we're skipping. Honestly, I should just delete this category because I don't see us using it anytime soon. We've been doing really well training him. He has a little bit of reactive tendencies when we're out walking. He just gets really excited at other dogs and people, but we've made so much progress on our own training him. So I don't think that we need like professional help at this time. So I'll go ahead and delete that. The vet fund, I set aside $25 a month. So that is currently sitting at $625. Then for car expenses, I set aside $45 a month for a tank of gas. I don't drive that much since I work fully from home and everywhere that I need to go is within like 5-10 minutes, which is really nice. So I don't spend that much on gas. And then insurance and registration, I set aside $75 a month, and that builds up for every 6 months when I pay my car insurance premium. So that's currently sitting at $210. Maintenance, I don't actually fund here. I will just fund any car maintenance that I need to do with my car fund down below. So that just sits at $0. And then my banana stand, which is like my long-term savings categories. I have my car fund, which I contributed another $200 this month. That's currently sitting at $7,800. My compassion category is my yearly donation that is building up. I contribute $100 a month, and then either this month or in December, when organizations do their holiday matching programs, I will just do a one-time donation. Tech replacement, this is for things like replacing my laptop or my phone if they break, or possibly I may be investing in a camera for these videos. But currently just setting aside $10 a month. So that's sitting at $750. And then my just generic income replacement fund, I just keep that at $4,000 because My bare bones living expenses this year, which actually I'm probably gonna have to recalculate this after my increase health insurance costs next year. I should probably do that. But my bare bones expenses, as far as just keeping a roof over my head and keeping myself fed and keeping Zeke fed, is less than $2,000 a month. Plus, I'm a month ahead in YNAB. So I have a little over like 3.5 months of expenses saved up, plus anything in these long-term savings or, other long-term categories like my travel category that can all be used as an emergency fund as well. So I'm happy with where that is all sitting. And then I never really show these credit card categories at the bottom, but this is how YNAB handles credit cards. All of the money sitting in these credit card envelopes are money that I have already spent from other categories. So like the $6.24, when I spent it, it took it out of the gifts and good vibes envelope and put it in the credit card that I spent it from. So I never have to worry about if I can afford my credit card bills or not because I've already budgeted for that bill. I never spend any money on a credit card that I don't actually physically have in my account ready to pay it off immediately. So that's just a really cool thing about YNAB is it makes handling credit cards so seamless and stress-free. But yeah, that's my budget for the month and that's it for this video. So thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe if you liked it and leave a comment. Let me know how your month went and what you're working on in the month of November or for the rest of the year. I'd love to hear where you're at on your financial goals and I will catch you all in the next video. All right, bye guys.